also just want to talk a little bit about the Women's Forum of New York, which is another WBC partner organization right here in the city. And as Edie mentioned, I'm serving a 2-year term as president. I'm Pamela Craig. My business career, as you heard, was at Accenture, where I spent 34 years. First of all, it's a privilege to be here. I also want to thank Wells Fargo and Edie and Diligent. My background, very similar to Pam. I was 34 years at MetLife.
Hi, everybody. I am so thrilled to be here on this esteemed panel. My last executive role was as Chief Financial Officer of Macy's.
I am a career tech industry person. I have an engineering background. I actually started at Compaq Computer as Engineer 1 and ultimately became an officer of the publicly traded company and running their most profitable business, which I ultimately transitioned to HP as part of that merger.
Seen a situation where the focus on DEI wasn't authentic or wasn't, it really didn't work. And what did you do about it, Rhea?
I mean, it's not systemically, because I think systemically, the companies I work with, it's part of their strategy. So it's embedded in the strategy, and for it to be authentic, it needs to be.
It goes to the importance of having more than one woman on the board, more than one person of color on the board, and you have more voices, that can persuade the rest of the board, hey, this should be a regular agenda item.
Lisa, you briefly touched on the ESG and just sort of those metrics and how that's tracking, because there is a little bit of this backlash about ESG and
Sure. First of all, I think we all know in this room that ESG is super broad, right? So even within the E, are you talking about recyclability? Are you talking about greenhouse gas emissions? Are you talking about water usage? And we can take it through every letter, and there's a lot underneath the hood there. So I think it's hard to talk about ESG as a thing. What we have found through some of the Diligent Institute studies that we've done is that 43% of boards have ESG at the full board level, meaning they don't have it relegated to a committee. They talk about it at the full board level.
We're most interested often in getting to know the talent, right? The next layer down, the layer below that, and just how are those folks potentially being on succession lists for CXO jobs?
I really make a point to get to know the talent and to go beyond the people that we see in the boardroom.
The other things that I like about Informa is where there are affinity groups, and we have 4 affinity groups. They have assigned a board director to each affinity group. So we are their board sponsor, and it's up to the group as much or as little as they want to engage us, and that's also super helpful for getting to know diverse talent.
Talk about ERGs.
Absolutely. Employee resource groups have been an integral part of getting board members connected. And what's great is the CEOs, I think going back to what Paul said, our CEOs are encouraging it. So we're not kept at arm's length. Another thing that we do a lot of in both public boards is walkabouts.
I didn't want to not get to this question because there is very much, I think, on all of our minds, what's the future going to be like? What's going to happen with inflation? 91% of CEOs that were surveyed said we're going to have a recession within the next 12 months. Mm-hmm. So what are the best companies doing to prepare for that?
I think global diversification is really important in this era. So I think diversification in portfolio and geography is important.
I would say, if boards haven't really taken a hard look at that risk matrix and said, have we really thoughtfully had planning around the high-risk issues, then now would be the time to do that.
Mine would be scenario planning. Think if you can get companies to really think about what are likely scenarios here and start to play them out, then if one of those happens, it's not emotional. It's like we said we were going to do this if this happens, and that's what we're going to do.
I was going to say scenario planning too.
Paula and I, the accountants.
Yeah, one of the things that the pandemic taught us really is how to manage through uncertainty, and scenario planning was a big part of that.
We are asking ourselves, how do we change our market portfolio? It's Florida's Florida and tornadoes in the Midwest and
Texas, yep.
and so we're looking at weather, climate, bringing in weather experts to try to understand that. And to your point, it is all about scenario planning.
in risk management, historically, everything was a little linear, and this is a very different recessionary environment we're going into. So as a board, we're pushing on tipping points and triangulating all the different things that are going on, and that gets to a bit of the scenario planning.
Great answers. Please thank our incredible panelists.